Welcome to Season 4 of the Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Levenhagen. This season, we're exploring the human behind the builders, the stories, experiences, and defining moments that shape the people who build great businesses. Builders helping builders. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined again by Rachel Lee. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
So, Rachel, you are the co-founder of Neogenesis, and you're kind of a designer of brands. You are the maker of things, whatever you want to call yourself.
I should add that to my LinkedIn title, Maker of Things.
Maker
so
of
epic. Things.
Why don't you take a minute or two and let us know first, again, I mean, what you guys do over at Neogenesis, what you're all about, and then we'll dive into other things, including branding.
Absolutely. Yes. So Neogenesis, which, fun fact, means new beginnings, is a visual branding agency, and we specialize in helping entrepreneurs with owning their weird. We do that through visual branding and helping them package themselves in a way where basically what you see is what you get, which we think it's straightforward, but in the world of the internet, it really isn't. And the whole thing behind what we do is we really want to inspire and empower people to embrace all the cool and weird things that make you awesome as a human, and just to really have that apparent and easy for people to see, so that when people meet you online, they know exactly what they're going to get, and they're going to know if you are or are not the right person for them. But in a nutshell, that's essentially what we do.
Amazing. Yeah. So, and if somebody wants to learn more about Rachel, this is actually episode 2. We had another episode that actually coming out time of recording this next week, but it'll be 290. And then this will soon follow the next week or a couple of weeks after that. It will come out. But we had a great conversation about your journey and your ups and downs and loops and all the stuff that us entrepreneurs go through. And so if somebody wants to learn more about that part of it, more about Rachel's journey herself, what built the builder, you can go back to that episode and listen to that first. But today we are coming back because we want to talk more about Rachel's business in general and what that's all about, and also just everything around branding. And like, I love embracing the weird and all that good stuff. I think actually I have some questions about that, but actually let's just dive right into that. Like you mentioned something about, you said the weird or the cool, or drawing something out of yourself, but you also said that not a lot of brands do that. Is that true? Like you think there's a lot of out there that don't do it and they should be doing it, or is it just the way they, what do you mean by that?
That's a good question. And I feel like it goes back to this weird unspoken professional standard that we have when we do business. Oftentimes it leans towards being more suit and tie. I feel like over the years, especially since COVID with online business, things have become more casual. But I remember when I first started my business, it was 1 year right before the pandemic. And I remember going to in-person networking events, and it feels weird because it feels like that was like a very traditional way of networking. Now we do everything online and through Zoom. But I remembered it felt very different. It was very much, you have to suit up, you have to look like you like drive a nice car. People really judged you based on the packaging, and at least what I felt was that there was a lot of pressure to have the professional headshot with my arms crossed over my chest and turning my nose slightly up. There was a lot of pressure for me to have my brand have a certain level of corporate polish when, very honestly, it wasn't a good fit for my personality. I liked what I created, but it wasn't me, if you know what I mean. And it felt like it missed a little bit of that feeling that I really want people to experience, that I personally want to experience when I look at my own stuff. And what's interesting, maybe this is just applicable in the world of small business where I spend most of my time. A lot of the conversations that I have with people, it's very interesting where I meet them online first and, we do our snooping, our stalking just to see like, who are you and what are you about? And then
Mhm.
I meet them in person, and there's this huge disconnect where I talk to the person and they're personable, they're funny, they're so
Right.
amazing to talk to, and all that. Like it feels great. The vibes are there. And then and then I feel a little disappointed because I'm like, if I had known how awesome you were from what I saw on your online stuff, I would have honestly been more excited for this conversation. So I feel like whether it's people are wanting to play it safe, maybe they're scared, maybe they just haven't discovered what that is yet. I feel like there's opportunity at least in the online space for people to package themselves in a way that's a little bit more aligned so that what people see is actually what they get. It's kind of like reverse catfishing, where the person's actually really awesome, but their online profiles don't actually say the full story.
Right.
Instead of the other way around, where the person's
Right.
actually not really good, and what you see online, you know what I mean, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now
Yeah.
that makes sense, especially in crowded markets or crowded,
Mm,
industries where you're competing against a lot of people that are all
yeah.
kind of playing that same game of playing it safe. And I
Yeah.
I think I actually, am I could accuse myself of playing it safe sometimes, like, with my brand. As I was thinking about this, I'm like, I am due for a rebrand of my own business. Maybe I need to lean into my weird a little bit more. Which is an interesting. I always think of TikTok when this conversation is happening for myself to be able to relate to it, because when I first started this agency almost 8 years ago, I was on TikTok. I was early,
Mm,
and
yeah.
and I had this idea, like I really loved humor and I was doing the lip syncing and all that stupid stuff I
Oh,
was way too old for. But I was having fun with it, right? I'm like transitioning
that's
from
what
a different
matters.
part of my life,
Yeah.
and I'm a little artistic. I'm like I could do, just having fun with it. I grew to about 5,000 followers, which is it was
Yeah.
5,000 people thought I was funny, you know?
Yes.
But at some point though, I pivoted to podcasting. You're welcome. And that was about 5.5, 6 years ago. I pivoted to podcasting and I decided to do that instead. But I felt like when I was at TikTok, though, I'm trying to be myself. But then I felt like I went
Yeah.
too far. There is, I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to find some balance. Like I can be Matt, but maybe not all the way that way, but not also with the suit and tie. So it's finding, I mean, is that, it's like I always say, like, when you tell somebody to be themselves,
Mm.
that's maybe not good advice for everybody, right?
I understand what you mean, though, and I love that you brought that up because when it comes to identity, it's not so linear as saying, "Oh, I'm a serious person, full stop, period," or "I'm serious, but I'm funny sometimes," right? Like, we're interesting in that we have a lot of layers, and
Mm,
these layers, they intersect, and things that people would say, like, you can't be funny and serious at the same time. People who say that those are two opposite things can actually be equally true at the same time with
mm,
people. And we have
right.
all of these weird, messy edges that what I've discovered is that it's actually possible, at least from a visual branding perspective, to capture all of those edges and still be able to tell the full story without flattening people down. And what I find is that oftentimes you see a lot of brands and they look beautiful, but they feel kind of flat. It's like drinking
Mm,
flat Coke. You're like, this is serious, but it's just serious. This is funny, but oh, I I don't know if I can have a serious conversation with you. You're way too much of one thing. What you spoke about, I think, is actually really good, where it's important for us to find a balance. I feel like we're all equal parts, like there's like the soft side and then equal parts this hard side, and everyone has different edges, but those 2 things are always true at the exact same time. It's what gives, like, people that depth and that flavor. It's like salty sweet ice cream. I know some people
Yeah.
might not like it, but it's like the salty and the sweet, they make a really good combination.
Together.
Some
Yeah.
people might
Yeah.
disagree with me, but you know what I
No,
mean,
I like
right?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we have that approach with branding though, but it does stem from the fact that humans are multi-layered, multi-dimensional. We're freaking complicated creatures. We're a tangled
Yeah.
knot and everything just kind of is like this. But I think it's important that when it comes to at least branding for people who are the face of their business or personal brands, I think it's important that we honor all of that. Like if you flatten it down, I really feel like we're doing people a disservice.
But do you think that people are doing it because of the type of business they want to attract? Like they're getting too
Mm,
much into their heads. Like I want to, I want to get in a room with people that are in enterprise businesses or that are also wearing suits and whatever. Like you don't want
yeah.
to show up, bright and fun and exciting and a little weird in that room, but maybe those folks can still find kind of their middle ground and still be themselves, but be able to show. Because that's why I feel like
Yes.
I find myself, I feel like I found a good balance where I can be in those rooms and have serious conversations, help
Mm,
people with their multi-million-dollar e-commerce stores or
yeah.
talk about whatever we're talking about. But at the same time, I can be in chat, throwing emojis at people and having a good
Yes.
time.
Yes.
But
That's
that somehow
actually
works. Yeah. Go
It
ahead.
does though. One of the clients, who actually was one of my very first business mentors, I'm honored to say that I actually got to work with them in packaging their brand. It's interesting because I had known them for quite a few years, and when I first started working with them, they were mostly working with newbie entrepreneurs. The
Mm,
whole way that they had packaged their brand, it was very content creator. It was fun, loud, bubbly, like very energetic, bright, bold colors, pop culture, like all of that vibe. And it was beautiful. It clearly attracted me. And I
yeah.
really enjoyed working with them. And their personality was very much that. But there was a harder, more serious edge where, like, even though they presented themselves as somebody who was very like high vibe and high energy, the moment they opened their mouth, they meant business and you had better listen up. Like they spoke with the credibility that you just felt. They didn't have to speak loudly for you to really feel that. And very recently, they actually ended up doing that complete 180 with who they were working with, where it wasn't the newbie entrepreneurs anymore. It was businesses that were actually looking to scale properly.
Mm,
6 to 7 figures, very, very different room, very different crowd. And the brand needed a very different level of polish. And it was cool where I knew what the before was, and I actually got to support with the after, where the exact conversation we had was, well, how do we package the brand so it looks like it belongs in the big boardroom, but still making sure we honor that part of my client that is still very high energy, playful, can crack a joke at any moment, knows how to play hard and work hard. Like, how do we capture all of that? So it was actually really fun to work on that brand together with them, knowing again where those edges are. But kind of like what you spoke about at the start of our conversation, it's kind of like a pendulum. At first, it was like super far on one side where it was like super fun and playful. And then it's kind of like adjusting the volume on certain things. We turned down the volume on that and then turned up the volume on the more serious, I'd say just a little bit more upscale, like the upscale side
yeah.
of the brand. So it swung the other way, but we still kept a flavor of the fun, just enough for
Mm,
people to look at the brand and they still smile when they see it. There's literally like a hidden smiley face in the logo, but
nice.
it has the polish and the professionalism that doesn't make it look and feel tacky.
Yeah.
And we picked like a set of colors that worked really well for them. It was bright and energetic, but it had a creative high end agency vibe. So there
Mm,
are ways to do that, but I actually had that opportunity with my client slash mentor because I was able to see here's what the before looked like, here's what they're growing into. Oh wow, it's so different, but we still managed to make it work, and it was a really fun project to work on.
That's amazing. That's what you bring to the table, is to help somebody through that.
Yeah.
I mean, did you do that kind of with your own brand too then? Because you said you were in at this stage in the beginning where you were showing up, driving the right kind of car, whatever you were doing,
Yeah.
but now you're, I mean, people that don't see you on video, you seem very fun, just looking at you.
I like to say that I had a coming out moment, and that coincided with a quarter life crisis. I feel like usually business decisions are not usually made in isolation when you're the head operator. It
Yeah.
paired with a personal moment where I think I was at a point in my life where I was deciding who I wanted to be. And I think prior to that decision, I was living my life in a way where I was tailoring myself to what I thought were other people's expectations.
Uh-huh.
And it ended up working, but it wasn't me. And I experienced a lot of tension with that. Like in the first year that I was doing business, it was like in person networking events and it was very suit and tie. I'm not a suit and tie person, but the rooms that I was walking into, also as a newbie entrepreneur, I felt like I needed to dress up more than I
Right.
usually do to feel, maybe personally, that I belonged. It's kind of like you don't want to go to an adult cocktail party in your PJs, right? You're not going to
Yeah.
wear your Pikachu onesie in there. You're just going to feel weird. And so even though it didn't feel like me, I dressed up a lot, but to the point where every time I looked in the mirror, I'm like, oh, like who's that girl? Like that's not
Right.
me. And not even just the way that I dress. Like I tried to really tone down the way that I naturally express. I didn't smile as much. There were no emojis in my writing. And I mean, you've seen my writing. So I write with emojis. I'm expressive in and nature and very personable. But I held back a lot of that because the narrative I had in my head was, oh, this isn't professional. If people saw how energetic and enthusiastic that you are, they're going to think that you're green. They're going to think that you're too young for this. They're going to think, oh, who's this kid at this like adult party? And oh, why is she asking for money from me? Like, what does she know? Like, I felt all of these things very heavily. So it was something that I really had to work with in the beginning and try using that type of packaging personally for myself for a few years. I really tried. I tried to make it work. And I even tried
Right.
to convince myself, no, you are the serious professional. Smiling is for losers. Like I tried to convince myself because I had invested so much, sunken cost fallacy. And then it all came to this point where the tension inside, apparently I can't lie to myself because
Yeah.
I felt that weird whisper in my voice that's like, girl, this isn't honest. Like, this isn't who you are. Like, you're lying to people. You're lying to yourself. Like, the voice started to get louder and louder to the point where I couldn't show up to events anymore. At that time, it
Mhm.
was after COVID. So I
Right.
stopped networking. I felt so bad and weirdly shameful around the way that I was
Huh.
showing up that I ended up just not. I ghosted people. I ghosted clients. I would
You
book
stopped
calls and not.
you
I
stopped
just
enjoying
stopped.
yeah, stopped
Yeah,
enjoying playing that role that you had given yourself. You
exactly.
basically
And
gave yourself a role and a mask that you were wearing, and you
it was
just
suffocating. It
yeah.
just yeah, yeah. And it
Wow.
got to a moment where well, when you stop showing up for your business, you stop earning money and you stop being
True.
able to
That is
pay your
true.
bills. So I
Yeah.
got to a pretty bad position because of the not showing up. And I knew that in order for me to fix my situation or risk going back to a full-time job, I needed to change the way that I was showing up. And that whole process, I shut down my calendar for a whole month and a half. And I literally just brain dumped into a Google Doc with one big question at the very top and then a sub question. The one big question, who am I? Rachel going through an existential crisis, literally. Who am I? And how do I want the world to see me? And I put everything out. I had to untangle this weird knot that was inside of me. And when I came around to the answers, I realized there were some parts of myself that I hadn't developed a really good relationship with. But I also had to be honest that, oh, it turns out that the young energy that I have, that's why people hire me. That's why they believe that I can actually spice up their brand. People have belief because I show up this way. The thing that
Exactly.
was so insecure about for a very long time turned out to be one of like the strongest edges of my business, and I had been toning it down thinking that this was the thing that would scare clients away. So things like that. The fact that I was like really insecure about the fact that I look a lot younger than my age. People look at me and they're like, "Oh, what year did you graduate from high school?" Or like, "Oh, like what school are you studying in?" Um I it used to bother me a lot. Now I take it as a compliment that I'm in my 30s. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Like you think that I'm that
Right.
young. But it used to really bother me. So I had to really embrace those sides of myself before I was able to package it in a way that people could actually see. So there was like a lot of personal development, soul searching, shadow work. I was fighting my demons
All of
in
it.
order
Yeah.
to, yeah, like all of that had to
Yeah.
happen before any of that could be reflected in what people actually saw online. So um, it's interesting. People don't often think about these things when it comes to people are like, oh, it's just like you come up with like cool logos and you make people look pretty. I'm like,
Right.
it's not that simple,
It's way
guys.
more.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's more
Well, I mean,
complicated
because
than
you
that.
gotta break these kind of habits and the stories that
Mm,
people tell themselves. Like you told yourself a
yeah,
story for a long time,
yeah,
and to break out of that, you needed that take that time to analyze yourself and get to know yourself, get back in touch with who you are, and integrate
mm,
that into who you are today, which you seem to have done. And
yeah. Yeah, it's been a journey though. I
yeah,
feel like it's interesting because we're always evolving as people. The first version of my brands when I had this whole coming out moment, it's still quite different from what I have today. And it felt like every year that I test drove my brand, I got to know it a little better. And maybe I grew and matured a little as a person. And so every year I would end up making these light tweaks with it. Then I would do a rebrand, I would repackage it. And it's kind of like switching your outfit, like when you're going through a growth spurt. It's like switching out that outfit every time that t shirt got tight because you are
yeah,
just growing. You're going through a growth spurt. So
mhm,
I went through like very rapidly, like a bunch of different iterations of even my own personal brand. Now I have an agency brand. There was a lot of development that happened because you kind of don't know what feels good until you try it on for size. You know, it's like when you go
yeah,
shopping, you have to go into the fitting room to know if that nice shirt you saw on the mannequin actually feels good on your body. So it was kind of like that feeling when I was testing that with my personal brand. And yeah, it's I think what are we on? Like V 3.0 or something. It's
yeah.
changed it's changed quite a bit since the
Well,
original
one of the
version.
interesting things too, though, is then that kind of informs who you work with too, right? I mean, like I
Yeah.
think about myself and how my what I think is my personal brand is has developed over the years. It's like one of those things
Mm.
where, like I said, I went too far with the TikTok thing, but when I'm in a meeting, even if there's like I've been in meetings with, like agency partners with their
Mhm.
clients and things like that. Um, I had an experience years ago, like 8, 9, 10 years ago. I was in a meeting. I was working for somebody at the time. It was one of the few times I've had a job over the decades. Um, and but I was in the room with the founders, and like we were trying to solve this major issue,
Mm.
and I I laughed a little. Like I like to laugh. Sometimes I laugh for no reason. I like
That's so good.
break up my. That's like how I deal with
Too
things.
serious.
And
Yeah.
like one of the founders, called me out on it. He's like, "Well, you're not taking us seriously or whatever." And I was in the wrong room. But
Mm. Yeah.
years later, I could have let that really affect me and never, just became that
Mm.
serious guy. Um,
Yeah.
never laughed, never
Yeah.
did it, never had fun. But over the years, I've learned that there are rooms, there are people, there are clients, there are partners that they like that, or they may not
Yeah.
laugh, but they accept it. But
Yeah.
my when I go into a meeting, like, this is one of my things. Like, I'm not going to joke around the whole meeting, right? We're going to get down to business. We're going to solve
Mhm.
problems. We're going to the serious Matt's going to come out
Yes.
95% of the time, at least. But my goal is to, at some point, if I have an opportunity, I want to make somebody laugh. Like, if I've a successful meeting for me is somebody laughed.
Oh,
I
that's a good
made
benchmark. Those are
I
your
made them
KPIs
laugh.
right there.
That's
Yes.
right. But because we don't want to take ourselves too seriously, but that is something too. Did you find that with your journey, like that
Mm,
it took a while to adapt and change? Like, did it affect the people you were working with, the existing
mm.
relationships or future ones? Like, how does that tension feel?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up too, because the way that I showed up in the earlier years of my business, I think it was in part because of the crowd that I was hanging out with, because the people who first introduced me into the world of business, the only self employed friends that I really had, they're all finance bros. So
Oh,
you'd imagine that they're super, super suit and tie. The whole finance industry relies on you looking like you have money. Otherwise,
right.
why would people trust you if you're not driving a nice car? You're not gonna drive up to like a meeting with a big client in like a Corolla and then tell them to invest all of this money in you. Like that
Yeah,
industry relies on a certain type of packaging and prestige in order to sell the product, which I totally understand. Me as newbie entrepreneur here didn't understand that this was an industry specific thing and this wasn't just the way that the worlds of business worked in general, because I'm in a creative industry. I'm in the business of making things and making things fun, making it pop, like all of it's I'm not saying it's opposite from that, but the energy is different. And I
right.
somehow didn't have the sense that, oh, well, what I do is different from these guys. That means the way I package myself might also need to be different. It somehow never occurred to me, because I went to a lot of these networking groups that, of course, my finance friends, they recommended to me. So people will only recommend resources that are, that are in their back pocket. So I went to a lot of
Sure.
very serious networking events, like these ballroom galas with champagne and really rich looking people. You have to pay like a lot of money just to be in the room. And I think it was the very far extreme version of what normal day to day networking is. Let's just meet in a room, like everyone have a coffee and mingle, just go forth and make friends, like normal networking
Right.
events should be like that. I think my initiation into the world of business was the very far extreme on one side, and it gave me the impression that, oh gosh, if this is what the world of business is like maybe I'm out of my depth. Like, what am I doing here? I don't
Yeah.
think I belong. So it very much felt like the wrong room. But I felt like I really wanted to try the business thing. So I really adjusted myself to try to match the room. Needless to say, I got really tired, and in a sense, COVID was a blessing where everything went online, and in the online space, I started to meet new people. There were new spaces, new rooms for me to be a part of, and slowly I started to meet people who were very opposite. They were all about helping people own their weird. They had fully embraced how cool and weird they were, and they were just open about it. And I
Yeah.
saw these people, they also have big followings. These people also, they know how to do business. Just because they're funny or silly does not mean they're not making good money and helping a lot of people. So I started to realize that, oh my gosh, there's another way that I could be doing business where I could do me and not and still like make ends meet. It was very magical for me to even realize that. So
Yeah.
slowly that encouraged me to step into it, just to know that it was possible. And then I think after I repackaged my brand, I started attracting more of the right types of
Of
people, and I
course. Yeah.
slowly built my community and tailored my space, my little corner of the internet where I feel comfortable. And now people just add me on LinkedIn randomly and they're like, oh my gosh, fellow weirdo, like weirdos unite. We have to be friends. And I now have the best conversations because I've been very intentional in the way I package my brand. So I scare off the people who are too serious and don't feel like we would have a good conversation. And I naturally attract the people that I would naturally be friends with. So it works both ways. It's the magnet effect.
Yeah. So I think that probably I imagine every person or every company you work with or whatever, there is this transition period where it's going to
Mm.
be awkward in some, in a way, because you're
Oh, yeah.
letting go of this, and people that you've been working with see you changing. Like, what is going on with this?
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
but at the same time, once you're through that, you're starting to attract the people that you
Mm.
should be hanging out with and doing business with and all that. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's what you have to keep your mind on, is that, yeah, it's going to be a little uncomfortable for a while for some people and maybe for me,
Yeah.
but we're going to get
Yeah.
over here. And then I get to be myself more
Mm.
and lean into who I am and probably enjoy your work more.
Yes. One thing that I've actually started to do is starting to use branding as a growth mechanism. And I say this as in when I first started with my brand, it was intended just to do like a capture, take a snapshot of where I was at in that moment. Then I realized I was in a really rapid period of growth personally as a human being, and that every time I would grow, I would always feel like I was playing catch up with my brand.
Uh,
I would grow and then I'd be like, oh crap, the way I'm packaging myself, it's not aligned anymore. This is no longer accurate. And I'm lying to people once again. I need to repackage. I need to repackage. And it always felt like I was playing catch up. And then I had this interesting experience where I did a role playing thing with one of my friends. And it's one of those things where you get to be whatever character you want and you go on this makeup adventure and you get to just act as that character. It was a very short experience, but that taste, it planted an idea in me. It also is the origin story of my cat headphones and why I wear them to all of my calls. It
I
was
love
this
it.
seed that helped me realize, wait a minute, like you could set an idea of what you want to be, where you want to grow, the type of person you want to become. Create the container for that. That is your brand. You package it as that. And then you're going to use that as the version that you are today. And it's going to be like wearing a shoe that's one size too big, but you're
Mm,
going to grow into it. And the more you walk in it, you break it in. But because you're already walking in it, it's training you to walk in that direction. That container is actually steering you in that direction of growth, and it
right.
becomes a guide and a support to help you become that. I sometimes do tell my clients, depending on what type of brands they have, what goals they have, how they want to feel when they use it. I sometimes do that thing where I help my clients package their brand as the future version of them. And I do have to tell them, I'm like, disclaimer, this is going to feel a little uncomfortable for you to use right now because you're not quite there yet, but this is where you want to go. And we're pre packaging you with that in mind. So we know you're going to grow into it and it's
Yeah.
actually going to guide you to get there. So it's a very different approach to branding, but
Yeah.
at least when it comes to branding for founders, entrepreneurs, personal brands, especially the ones that we can't help but grow as humans, right? We grow all the time. It's a more flexible model that plans for rapid growth and evolution. And it's just packaging with a little bit more intention, is what I like to think about it as.
Love that. And you said where you want to go. So what are the benefits? Why do we want to go there? What are the benefits of doing this, of
Mm,
reimagining yourself or leaning into aspects of yourself that maybe you right now subdue, keep keep away because you don't think it's going to be, once you break them out of that, because I imagine part of your job is to break them out
mm,
of that the ideas and the stories they're telling
mm,
themselves, like we can tell this other story and it's going to be way more fun.
yeah.
But why? But because now you're this other type of branding around yourself, maybe a personal brand that's
Mm,
going to leak into your business and all that. What are the
yeah.
benefits of that? Is it related to who you will then attract and or building an
Mm.
audience that can relate to you more, that kind of thing?
It is. I feel like it's kinda like the one-two punch where everything that you attract for your business, it kinda starts with yourself, and, I mean, I think we're always asking ourselves the question, "Well, who do I wanna be when I grow up?" And we're all in the process of growing up, right? There's things that we want to accomplish for ourselves, things that you wanna get good at, things that you wanna improve, things you wanna learn for the first time, and those are all things that you want to become. What I find is, and I do both equal parts business branding and personal branding. So it's interesting because I actually ask the same questions. For the business, well, what are your goals? Where do you see your business in 5 years? What's your 1-year plan, your 3-year plan, and what's your 5-year plan? Where do you want to be in 10 years? What's your vision? And then I asked the same thing for the person, right? Well, I mean, how do you want to show up in the world? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to become? Like, we're always working on ourselves in some way, something that you want to improve. And if you don't have that, I would be concerned and I would implore you to ask a little deeper. Um,
Yeah.
but I actually find that asking those same questions, both for the person and the business, it factors in the fact that we are all going to grow and we should all plan for it. So it's yes, in part to attract the right people, but one, it just supports on the personal development side of things. We're raising your capacity and your ceiling as a human being to attract the right people, to handle more bigger projects, more responsibility. We're planning for that too, because when you increase your capacity as the human driver of your business will also grow. We're the limiting factor. We know this as founder-led
Yeah.
businesses. We
Right.
are the limiting factor for our business, and so sometimes I find that the business growth is capped because your personal development as a person hasn't broken through a certain ceiling. And so I find that the two kind of have to grow together in a sense. Whether you have an official container for your personal brand or not, we all at least have like a business, but it's something to consider. I find the way that you grow as a human, it does affect the way that your business grows. And I find that usually they cap each other. They all kind of have to grow together at the same time.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, so you have to, right, your business is gonna be a reflection of how you've grown or where you're at,
Mm,
and to get to
yeah.
the next level, you need to improve yourself and or improve how you show up in the world. Do you recommend, like do you see that most I mean, I guess it depends on the size of the company and all that other stuff. There's a lot of things involved and who you're talking to, but, like, for
Mm,
founders and stuff, do you think it's important to build your personal brand alongside your
mm,
business? Is there a benefit in that, or is there a reason some
mm.
shouldn't?
It's a great question. I feel like it depends on the type of business that you have. When it comes to it's kind of like the age-long debate of personal branding versus business branding, like which one's the right fit for you. I find that it depends on the type of business that you have and the stage that you're at with it. I find that most people, they start off with their personal brand. You are the one consultant. You are the one freelancer, the one service
Right.
provider. You are the plumber, the technician. You're the one people call and you just go in and you do the work. We all start, it's like being the freelancer, right? People know you for you. And then there's kind of this fork in the road where you can decide, oh, the vision that I have for my self employment is I want to eventually have a team. I want to have multiple roles underneath this umbrella. I eventually want to step away. Maybe I want to sell this company. I'm building a thing. It's an entity that's separate from myself. Then that's kind of like the business branding route. It doesn't mean that you're not the founder and you're not the face of your brand, but the brand itself, it would be packaged in a way that is catered more towards it's an umbrella that encompasses your team. It's not as
Right.
tailored to you personally. It might still draw from aspects of you because you're the founder and you call the shots. Of course, your business is still going to have some level of association with how you feel as a person. But then on the personal brand, I do feel that like a lot of people who remain the face of their business, maybe you started off as a coach or consultant, and maybe you've developed a really amazing methodology, and you start to onboard other coaches who are also going to be on your team to teach this methodology. Wow, suddenly you are the personal brand, but you've got this team, but then people still know you for like your business, for you. In those situations, like personal branding, it's very much more effective where it's kind of like if you're building your thought leadership, you want to start doing more speaking. You want to be sought out for a specific something or to be known for a specific something. It's definitely good to consider a personal brand. You can have both. I don't recommend building both at the same time. The rule is you should only try to focus on building one thing at a time, or you do both things really shoddily and nobody benefits from anything and you get burnt
Right.
out. I would definitely say like focus on building one brand at a time. There's definitely benefit to having both because if you are not your business, you should have something for yourself, like a different container. And even if you don't have a business brand, you should still have some way of packaging the way you show up online. So I like to tell people whether you like it or not, you do have a personal brand because that's just how people see you. It's like your social media profiles, right? You have a brand, which is what people know you for. It's just a matter of if you're intentional or not in the way that you really package or curate the experience. So,
Okay.
fun fact, everybody does have a personal brand.
Yeah, I mean, you do. Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter the side. You look at every business, there's somebody like
Mm.
a figurehead that's like that's they're the one in the news. They're the one I can talk. They're the ones in the news. They're the ones, like, or
Yeah.
on social media or the ones people are talking about and start, depending on how big the brand is, people start like, critiquing everything they say. And,
Oh,
but it
yes.
is, it is like, I think of my own agency. Like I remember in the beginning, number one, I leaned into, design way more than I do
Mm.
today. Just my business has changed over time. I had a very
Yeah.
colorful, wild, website at first, and then I
You
rebranded
have
it
to show
over
me.
time.
Do you have documentation of this? I have to see it.
I think I yeah, I have screenshots of it somewhere. I should,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
just,
just so curious.
but but yeah, like at least the hero. I think I had because I was like, I actually had this idea in the beginning that I was I was TikTok. I'm like, I have this artistic background. I'm like, I could like
Uh-huh.
help artists build their brands or their
Mm,
websites and stuff. And that's kind of at first what I was leaning into. And that's not the business I
mm,
attracted. So it's just, yeah, I
mm.
had this early vision that I was going to be working with creatives more and
Yeah.
helping them with their brands. But what I was going to say is that I was baked into that. Like I was on the homepage of Unified Web Design. I was like the
Mm,
guy,
yeah.
and my bio was there. Like this is who you're working with. And then I made the transition at some point as I started building a team.
Mm,
Like, okay, well, also someday I want to maybe hand over my business to somebody else someday or whatever. I want to kind of split the brand apart and build
mm,
Unified on its own, and but then also have my personal brand. And that's kind of how I still kind of operate today. Um
yeah.
it's that's interesting because it's like, yeah, I mean, I that's why I'm curious about it, because I think about how different businesses probably evolve that way, and some probably, there are some businesses you can't even figure out who's running the business or who's behind it. And I don't like that as
It's
much.
true.
Like I want to know I'm working with somebody that we're aligned on some level. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's weird to me when I go to a company's about page and there isn't any information like, what's your origin story? Who's head of the ship? Who's your founder? At least tell me what the vision is. Like,
Yeah.
there's no people on the about page. And maybe it's just because like I spend a lot of time looking at a lot of people's websites. My first thought goes into the corner of, well, what are you trying to hide? Is there something sketchy
Right.
about your team? Like, I immediately become, don't openly state, people will fill in the gaps for you. So you might as well just take that one little extra step and just don't leave anything open for interpretation. Just be upfront because whatever you don't say, people will assume. And from experience, people always assume the wrong things about you. So,
Right.
it does
Yeah.
weird me out though. That transition from personal brands to business brands, that's how I started too though. It was the personal brand and I ran with my personal brand for a very, very long time. But then it was interesting because I was working with my business partner while I still had my personal brand. And it worked for a little bit because I was the front face of the business and people thought it was just me, but my business partner was supporting on the back end. So the operations, the systems, making sure that our business actually had a spine. And then it eventually got to that point where we had a conversation about, okay, like I think it's time to repackage because we both want to be more prominent like at
Yeah.
the very forefront and rejig the infrastructure so then there's more room for us to potentially have other team members underneath the umbrella. So that's how our agency Neogenesis was born when we decided to rejig everything. And I remember there was this weird moment where I had a few months of really needing to readjust the way that I talked about my business. Instead of saying,
Oh, right.
oh, like I help people XYZ, I would now say, oh, I have an agency that helps XYZ. Like
Yeah.
it took a while for me to switch those gears in my brain when I first did the personal brand to business brand thing. I still have my personal brand, but I just use it for like other things. So the business is just the business. I don't know, like when you made that switch for yourself, when like, was there like a period of adjustment when you were going through those transitions with your
Yeah.
brands?
Yeah, I think there was. I mean, yeah, you start to, like say we more and my team more and because you
Mm-hmm.
want to include them and you want it, it,
Mm,
it gives you people have a different impression of you, of what type of
yeah.
business you have, and that they want to see your growth. Because I mean, like some of my early clients that I still work from the early days. I mean, they've seen me, develop and add team
Yeah.
members, but in the beginning it was just
Mm.
me. So it was like that as well. Like I had,
Uh,
which is kind of weird because like also there's that kind of tension or that moment where it's like I'm going to tell my clients somebody else on my team's going to do this, and they were so used to just working
right.
directly with you, and
Yeah.
and so they have to. Well, I trust Matt. I'll trust that he's going to have a good team to do
Yep.
things now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of clients, what kind of clients do you like to work with? I mean, like what kind
Mm.
of businesses, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we mostly work with founder-led businesses, mostly because of the approach we have with branding is about really drawing from the personality of the founder and having that be the packaging for the business. Oftentimes, the people we work with are coaches and consultants of some sort. Basically, they're people who give advice for a living. I kind of
Mm,
just started to blanket all of our clients underneath that umbrella. And whether they're stepping into thought leadership or maybe they do like they're a systems consultant, right? Like there's a huge broad umbrella under which our clients span, but all of them, they are like it or not the face of their business. Even if they do have
right.
a team, the business, it still relies on them to bring in clients because people they're like, oh, like I know Matt, he's got a business. Oh, Matt knows Matt's a good person. I'm gonna work with his team, right? Like it's kind of that all of our clients are still in that position where people want to work with the business because they know the founder. They think the founder's cool and they
Right.
like and trust them. So we kind of package the business according to that, but with a little bit of the business branding edge. So it feels personalized where, for example, one of our clients is a CEO coach. Super serious stuff when you're coaching CEOs, but he's really into water sports. So his whole brand is water themed. There's like bubbles,
Love it.
there's waves,
Yeah.
like, and you feel the movement in it, but it's still serious. When you look at it, you're like, oh, this guy like knows what he's doing, but you also see this different aspect of the brand. And it's also infused in the culture of the company that he's creating. So whatever coaches he brings on board are going to align with that overall feeling. So I'd
Nice.
say that, yeah, so founder led businesses, if you're the face of what you do, we love to work with you.
That's fantastic.
Hmm.
Well, this has been great. I mean, as we're going along, it's always my personal challenge to not go down certain rabbit holes. There's so many other things we could talk about.
Oh, yes.
But I tried to hopefully I picked the interesting things, the interesting rabbit holes.
Yes.
But if somebody wants to learn more about what you do and, about your business, about your personal brand, what you're doing out there in the world, if there's somewhere you're hanging out online, some social media place, where can they find you? Where can they connect?
Yes. So on my website, that's where you can learn more about the business. URL is neogenesis.me because we focus mostly on founder led businesses. And I'm also hanging out on LinkedIn and Instagram. LinkedIn, it's mostly like I deal with the business stuff. Instagram is where I go and I post videos about my cats or my
Nice.
art or the small, funny things. So I like to tell people Instagram is where I like to hang out with my friends, like biz besties. It's where you get like casual chill, Rachel. LinkedIn is where I post more about the business stuff, speaking podcast things,
Yeah.
more serious things, but still fun. So I like to hang out on
You still
both.
have the cat
Instagram
ears
is where I
on, but you're
prefer. Still have the cat ears
yeah.
on, exactly. Just
Yeah.
different channels for different things, kind of like how you had your TikTok. I mean, you have your LinkedIn. You've got different channels for talking about different things, but it's all
Yeah.
still you. So,
Yeah. Well, I made my
Mhm.
TikTok private, so no one needs to see that. No one needs to go there and find me.
It's your secret vaults
My
where you
secret
could go
vault.
back.
Well, it's
Yeah,
actually funny because
exactly.
I'll leave it at this, but it's actually funny because all those videos are still on my phone, because they
Oh,
all saved. So once in a while I have these
yeah.
featured things come up and I'll see my,
So
me
funny.
from like 7 years ago, 8 years ago when I was making silly TikToks. I still entertain
Oh my
myself
God. Oh, that's
periodically.
so
So
wonderful. You'll have to send me one of
there's
these.
hundreds of
I
them.
have
Yeah.
to, I have to see them, and also a screenshot of your old colorful website.
Yeah. I
I
do that.
you got me curious. I have to see this now.
Yeah, don't get too excited. It was, but yeah, I'll definitely share it with you. Maybe I'll even put,
Absolutely.
because now people are going to be curious on the podcast. So maybe I'll put it in the show notes. All right.
Yeah.
Until next time, Rachel, nice chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.